Shawn the Rain Man Kemp is one of the greatest dunkers in NBA history. He soared through the air with a combination of power, grace, and pure athleticism that left fans and opponents alike in awe. And while there are certainly many players who have made a name for themselves with their high-flying slams, few can match the sheer ferocity and creativity of Kemp's dunk package. In this video, we're going to delve deep into the fascinating career of Shawn Kemp, from his early life to his time in the NBA, and how he became one of the most exciting and dominant players of his generation. Because when it came to dunking, Shawn Kemp left his own mark out the Mount Rushmore of high flyers. He wasn't just a dunker, he was a destroyer of rims, a demolisher of defenders, a one-man wrecking crew. So make sure you stay tuned to the end of the video, where we're going back to look at 3 of his most incredible dunks that are widely considered some of the most ferocious posterizing plays in NBA history. But first, let's take a moment to appreciate just how incredible Shawn Kemp was on the basketball court. At his peak, he was a force to be reckoned with, dominating games with his athleticism, power, and skill. He was an incredibly talented player, with a repertoire of moves that made him almost impossible to guard. He could post up smaller defenders and overpower them with his strength, or take on bigger defenders on the perimeter with his quickness and ball handling skills. But his biggest claim to fame? This man could posterize just about anybody you sent to defend him. And Shawn Kemp's dunks weren't just a way to score points. They were a form of artistic expression. Each dunk was a masterpiece, a moment of pure poetry in motion. He could also block shots with ease and had a knack for making clutch plays when it mattered most. However, before we get into his high-flying highlights, let's start at the very beginning of his journey to basketball stardom. Born in Indiana in 1969, Kemp grew up in a troubled household and was forced to fend for himself from a young age. He turned to basketball as a way of escaping his difficult home life and quickly realized he had a talent for the game. He played well in high school and was eventually recruited to play for the University of Kentucky, but opted to enter the NBA draft instead. Kemp was picked 17th overall by the Seattle Supersonics in 1989 and would subsequently make a name for himself as one of the most exciting players in the league. Standing at 6'10" and weighing in at over 280 pounds, Kemp was a physical specimen unlike any other. He had the speed and agility similar to a guard, combined with the size and strength of a center, and he used those attributes to devastating effect on the court. But despite his physical gifts, Kemp was the youngest player in the NBA at the time, and initially struggled to find his place in the league. However, it would be during his second season that Kemp would rise to the occasion. He was starting to become one of the most electrifying players in the NBA, and became renowned for his high-flying dunks, which earned him the nickname the Rain Man, as well as the status as one of the most beloved fan favorites in Seattle. Over the course of his career, Kemp earned 6 All-Star selections and was named to the All-NBA second team 3 times in a row, from 1994 to 1996. But during the 1993-94 season, Shawn Kemp's dominance on the court would fully become evident. He averaged 18.1 points, 10.8 rebounds, and 2.1 blocks per game, and was named to the All-NBA second team for the first time in his career. He was also a key player for Team USA in the 1994 FIBA World Championship, where he helped lead the team to a gold medal. But Shawn Kemp would truly establish his legacy as one of the best players in the league during the 1996 season. In that season, he averaged 19.6 points, 11.4 rebounds, and 1.6 blocks per game. He helped lead the Supersonics to a franchise record 64 wins and would subsequently reach the pinnacle of his career, leading the Supersonics to the 1996 NBA Finals. Kemp and the Sonics would lose to a 72-win Chicago Bulls team in 6 games, but Kemp's performance in the series was nothing short of spectacular. During the series, he averaged 23.3 points and 10 rebounds per game, and gave Michael Jordan and the Bulls all they could handle. Kemp's success continued over the next few years, as he earned All-Star selections in 1995, 96, and 97 and 98. But despite all of his success on the court, Kemp's career was not without its struggles. He battled weight gain and off-court issues throughout his time in the NBA, and was eventually traded to the Cleveland Cavaliers in 1997. He continued to play at a high level for a few more years, but injuries and personal problems eventually took their toll. However, despite how his career ended, Shawn Kemp's legacy as one of the most exciting and dominant players in NBA history is secure. His high-flying plays, powerful blocks, and clutch performances on the court will be remembered for years to come, and his impact on the game of basketball is undeniable. But most of all, Kemp will forever be remembered for his unforgettable signature, his thunderous dunks. He was a master of the art of posterization and could throw down with such ferocity that it seemed like he was trying to tear the rim off the backboard. His dunks were so powerful that they often left defenders in his wake or even knocked them to the ground. Kemp had an uncanny ability to not only rise above his defenders, but to soar over them like a bird of prey. He would take off from outside the key, his long arms outstretched, and with a ferocity that was both thrilling and terrifying. This man would throw down the most vicious, most emphatic dunks you've ever seen. But what made Kemp's dunks so special was the way he would use his body to shield the ball from his defenders. He would take a step or two toward the rim, gather himself, and then launch himself into the air, his knees and elbows flailing as he rose higher and higher. And then, just as it seemed like he was going to collide with the defender standing in his way, he would contort his body, twisting and turning in midair, and throw down the dunk with such force that it seemed like the defender simply wasn't there. Kemp's dunks were not just about athleticism, they were about attitude. When he dunked, he didn't just put the ball through the hoop, he put it through his defender's soul. He would stare them down, flex his muscles, and let out a primal scream that sent shivers down the spine of everyone in the arena. But perhaps the most impressive thing about Kemp's dunks was the sheer variety of them. He could dunk with one hand or two, from the left or the right, with his back to the basket or facing it. He could dunk off the dribble, off a lob, or off a putback. And he could do it all with the same level of intensity and ferocity. So, without further ado, let's take a look at the unforgettable time when Kemp had 3 of the most ferocious dunks in NBA history, within 2 quarters of NBA playoff action. It all happened during the 1992 playoffs, when Kemp and the Sonics were facing off against the Golden State Warriors in round 1. The first dunk on the list is the incredible game-saving alley-oop from Gary Payton with less than a minute left in Game 3. The score was tied, and the Warriors were on offense. But after breaking at corner 3, the ball was tapped to Gary Payton, who initiated a fast break. Payton raced down the court with the ball, throwing the perfect dime to Shawn Kemp, who caught the ball out of midair and dunked it with authority, giving the Sonics a 126-124 lead. This play between Kemp and Payton has been widely considered one of the greatest alley-oops of all time. However, the most memorable dunk from that series has to be the Lister Blister. This infamous moment happened during that same series in the second quarter of Game 4 with 6 minutes left on the clock. Kemp caught the skip pass at the top of the key, penetrated through the teeth of the Warriors' defense, and the rest is history. Kemp made an all-time moment out of Alton Lister, the opposing team's center, with a savage dunk that quickly gained notoriety, becoming known as the Lister Blister among basketball fans. But shockingly, in that same series, in that same game, Kemp had another unforgettable dunk that will be talked about for generations to come. Chris Gatling of the Warriors swatted a Sonic shot attempt, but Shawn Kemp got the rebound, executed a drop-step move, and then absolutely baptized Gatling at the rim. These are just a few examples of the incredible dunks that Kemp was known for. His dunks weren't just a way to score points, they were a form of artistic expression. Each dunk was a masterpiece, a moment of pure poetry in motion. From the way he would hang in the air just a little longer than seemed humanly possible, to the way he would contort his body to avoid defenders, every aspect of his dunks was deliberate and calculated. At the end of the day, it's hard to put into words just how spectacular Shawn Kemp's dunks were. They were a combination of skill, athleticism, and sheer force of will that left defenders trembling and fans screaming for more. Kemp was not just a dunker. He was the Rain Man, the man who made the rim shake and the crowd go wild. And despite the ups and downs of his career, there's no denying Shawn Kemp's impact on the overall legacy of the NBA. He was one of the most exciting players to watch in his prime, and his high-flying dunks and dominant performances on the court will be remembered for years to come.